Do not be fooled by the polling. Donald Trump could very well win a second term. If you live in Ohio, early voting starts on October 6 at your Board of Elections. Tell everyone you know they can vote in person up to a full month before the election. According to 538, Trump has an approximately 30% chance of winning the election. That sounds low, but that's approximately the same percentage he had back in 2015, and obviously he won. So while I don't think we should ignore the polls, or fall into despair, we also have to be cautious and, like everyone else is saying, get out and vote. I really like the winding path to victory depiction of the race on 538's site, https://projects. 538.com/2020 election forecast/. It shows how tenuous the Electoral College lead is. If Arizona, Florida, and either Wisconsin or Pennsylvania flip back to red, Trump wins. The race will edit, probably tighten by the end, so no one should feel comfortable with this. Operate under the assumption that Trump will win. If you can safely vote in person, vote in person. If not, request your mail-in ballot today. Find out all of your state voting rules, see if you can turn in a mail ballot in person, if that would make you more comfortable. The important thing is to vote on November 3rd. Edit, find out if you can vote early in your state. If you can vote early, do it. Election day is going to be chaos. Edit 2, getting a lot of replies suggesting volunteering at the polls. If you are low risk for serious illness from COVID-19, volunteer at your local polling station. Where I am located, most poll workers are retirees who likely will not be volunteering this year. Reddit is extremely liberal, but I think we forget that we're in a bubble. As soon as I drive anywhere rural, it quickly becomes Trump country and we forget how many people still support him. Regardless of his mishandling of the pandemic, part of the electorate will always vote for Trump. He could. Which is why it's important we vote to keep him out. 1. Always be voting. 2. Don't be not voting. Vote as if 70,000 Russians will be voting too. Unless you guys abolished the Electoral College, always assume you're fucked. Go out and vote. I drive a semi throughout the Midwest area within 5 hours of Chicago. The amount of Trump signs is 15-1 to Biden. These are yard signs. I'm not seeing any bumper stickers for either party. I hate headlines like this. He is actively suppressing the vote. Begging any foreign entity out there to interfere. We have overwhelming evidence Russia fucked our last election. He isn't going to win. He is stealing it. Using that word win gives legitimacy to this circus. Never underestimate the stupidity of the American people. Don't be fooled by the polls. Trump can still cheat his way in like last time, and we should operate under the assumption that he will vote. Don't refuse to vote for Biden because you're progressive and pissed off at the DNC. Me too, bro, but we have much bigger fish to fry. Make sure you're registered. Make sure you request your ballot ASAP if you're mailing it in, and remember that usually, you can drop off your mail-in ballot at your local courthouse if you feel uneasy about actually sending it through USPS right now. Make sure you have a way to get to your polling place and have whatever BS they want to verify you if you're voting in person. Get your fucking ducks in a row because we are teetering on the edge of some real scary shit. Now is not the time to be lazy, apathetic, petty, or indignant. Save that for after the election, please. Don't believe a single poll. It's not over until it's over. Trump polling lower than Joe Biden should be taken as that's nice and I'll use it to give me motivation to ensure this becomes reality, not welp, it's in the bag so I can sit back and do nothing. Jesus, forget the polling. It's all about the electorate. Get the electorate and it is game over. Get the swing states and pick up Florida. Biden will get the popular vote. It's the swing states we need to concentrate on. So if you live in one, we need you. The two main problems with a lot of polls right now are that they 1. Poll registered voters and not likely voters, and 2. Are still obsessed with national polling instead of battleground states. Who gives a shit if Biden repeats 2016 and wins the popular vote? The Electoral College is all that matters. They should be doing state polls up the wazoo. Whenever I watch conservative media, I put myself in the mind of a typical Republican American. I watched all the RNC speakers, and while you may see it as coke-fueled psychotic nonsense, they spoke directly to their base, and I can definitely see how they'd eat it up. It doesn't matter if what they said was true or not, it was theater, and was mainline fear and hate-mongering. You guys have an uphill battle. First he'll make it difficult for you to vote. Then he'll contest the results. Then when it's a confirmed loss, he'll refuse to leave. Then when he's forced to leave, he'll urge his voters to retaliate. You have to pass all levels. Deleted. I'm never counting Trump out. He was completely, obviously unqualified and overmatched and won in 2016. He's going up against an arguably weaker opponent in 2020. He's been a terrible disaster of a president, but I think most of his 2016 voters are people who would never vote for a Democrat. It comes down to the small percentage of his 2016 base who are coming at this election with open minds. That along with turnout from the left. While I understand that these articles exist to try and combat complacency, it is exhausting to never be able to have an interesting conversation about the polls. It's always one of two comment chains. First, don't listen, vote. As if that carries meaning for a self-selected sample of people that's populated largely by super voters and those that won't turn out no matter what. If it's not the vote chain, it's the Donald is gonna win. Because of some fifth column, shy Trump voters, etc. Register and vote early. Either by mail or in person. I took it for granted in 2016. I will sure as hell not be making that mistake again. That election showed me just how morally bankrupt a sizable portion of the United States is. I will not underestimate ever again. Yup, and definitely go beyond the Reddit bubble that feeds you constant groupthink. Every vote will count, and it's going to be a tight race. The Republicans will use every trick in the book to cheat. They even have Ivanka branded voting machines made in China. https://www. Reuters.com/article/us China USA Ivanka/China grants more trademark approvals for Ivanka Trump firm including voting machines ID USKCN1NB0TL. I shit you not. I'm glad to see this getting upvoted. This sub has a tendency to downvote unfavorable takes. The other point that the writer doesn't hit hard enough, Trump will cheat. Asterisk he cheated when he had Michael Cohen make illegal hush money payments. Asterisk he cheated when, as the GOP-led Senate Intel Committee said, he participated in and enabled a Russian attack on our elections. Asterisk he cheated when he asked Ukraine to fabricate allegations against his political opponent. Asterisk he is cheating again when he tries to dismantle the post office ahead of an election that will be decided by mail-in voting. These are just the instances we know about. There is no reason to think that he and his henchmen are not using other underhanded tactics. Our job is to overwhelm all this fuckery with high turnout. I honestly wouldn't be surprised after all the bullshit that has happened over the last years. Bullshit with zero accountability. Still going to vote though. It's very dangerous that news is so polarized these days. My partner watches MSNBC and one would think that Trump has no chance when watching that network. I have loads of family and friends in southern US and Florida. There is a ton of Trump support down there, ugh. I think some people are still overly nervous because of 2016, but keep in mind there's many differences between now and then. Donald Trump is the incumbent president and people are judging him based on how his policies have affected them, whereas in 2016 he could just run on vague platitudes and people were able to project whatever they wanted onto him. Joe Biden is nowhere near as hated by non-Democrats, particularly independents, as Hillary Clinton was, and has much more solid support from progressives than she did despite their policies being essentially identical. Biden has consistently led Trump in every reliable national poll. Sorry, Rasmussen doesn't count, since he even entered the race, and has led by large margins consistently for the past 3 months. There's no back and forth in the polls here like there was in 2016, where Trump even led in a few reliable polls and Clinton only had leads that were within the margin of error in many others. The third-party vote is going to be much lower than it was in 2016, the Green and Libertarian nominees are total nobodies and Kanye West will only even be on the ballot in a handful of states. This likely helps Biden quite a bit because many of those third-party voters would have picked Clinton in a one-on-one with Trump, and relatedly, Biden is doing far better with voters who don't like either candidate than Clinton was. So yeah, overall there's still a fairly slim chance that Trump could win, but it would require a historic upset that would be several levels of magnitude more shocking than 2016. At this point he only has 3 realistic hopes for changing the race, with the third one being pretty unrealistic. 1. He has an amazing performance in the debates or Biden has a totally terrible performance. Neither one is very likely. Trump is no great debater and Biden did well enough in his one-on-one debate with Bernie Sanders that I can't see him doing poorly against Trump. 2. There is a COVID vaccine released shortly before the election and he takes all the credit for it. This is, unfortunately, pretty unlikely as well, and with increased early voting it's hard to say whether this would even be enough to save Trump unless the vaccine was released within literally a few weeks of me writing this. 3. Trump's last, somewhat, realistic path to re-election is a wild card, some sort of October surprise that damages Biden's campaign beyond repair, a terrorist attack on U.S. soil that causes a rally around the flag effect, something of that nature. TLDR, Trump theoretically could still win, but it would require something extremely big to happen and shake up the race, which has been remarkably stable so far. So yeah, the point about not getting complacent is fair, but as of right now we only have 2.5 months until the election and Biden is far ahead by every metric, and time is really running out for Trump to mount some kind of comeback.